follower, his lady, his whatever. They got married on the beach in Hawaii while the kids were, buried in the backyard of his house. So he's had some communication. Now we're finding out how, because last night when I said that they'd had this communication, I was gobsmacked. There are rules in the jail system in Idaho and many others, no inmate to inmate communication. But there's no rules between inmate to inmate's lawyer. And it turns out that happened. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then there's this case that we can't shake. A couple times this week, we told you about like a couple cases where really weird stuff happened and there was no foul play. It's just like, wait, like really weird stuff, like a man dead and rolled up in plastic and a carpet and dumped in a vacant parking lot, no foul play. That didn't seem right. And then another couple of ladies dumped, no foul play. But tonight might take the cake. A young man who told his mom he was scared, that there were men out for him. Big group of white men coming for Rasheem Carter. He said, Mom, I'm worried about it. She said, go to the police. But you know what? He didn't get a chance to do that because his body ended up in the woods, pulled apart, decapitated. No foul play. I'm not kidding here, folks. The police said no foul play. What happened to Rasheem Carter? And how is it no foul play is so quickly determined, especially with what he told his mom? His mom is on this show tonight, and she's going to fill in a lot of the gaps and details. Okay, back to the jail. A couple things I want to get you up to speed on in the Latah County Jail. A source with knowledge of Bryan Kohberger in that facility says that he eats alone in his cell every single meal, while the other inmates all eat together and then sleep together in their pods. Food apparently is quite good at this jail. The portions are small. Many of the inmates say they're left hungry, and so they have to turn to the unhealthy stuff in the commissary. Would Bryan Kohberger do that with all his fitness goals? Don't know about that. They say the company makes the food fresh for the jail, and that the vegan meals, which is what Kohberger has asked for, are mostly vegetables. Sometimes they're beans and rice. As for BK's cell, Kohberger's cell has his own TV. We've told you about that. We also told you that he had to call out to have the channel changed, but we're getting a lot more clarification about that. He does not have to do that. No, he's got his own remote. The other guys who all share a pod and share a TV, they have to agree on it, and the channel has to get changed. But he gets his own remote in one of those isolated 4 cells for the max lockup people. He's one in those 4 cells, and the other 3 are empty so far. Could change it any day. And his cell actually has bars on it. A lot of max jails now have like heavy doors, but his are like old school. He's got bars, so he looks out every day at his reality. Bars. Behind bars. He has a little bit more privacy than the other guys because, again, they're all in one place and he's in his own. But he does get headphones. And that's so that when he makes calls, he can have privacy. And the other inmates also get headphones so that when they have their calls, they can have privacy too. As for his demeanor, the source says he says very little. He's cooperative. He can be heard saying yes, no, and thank you every time he comes in and leaves his cell. Whenever he leaves his cell, he is forced to put his hands up on the wall. That's how they do the search. When he leaves the cell, hands on the wall, full search. When he comes back to the cell, hands on the wall, full search. And guess what? We know what he did today. Bryan Kohberger made his choice. He decided to go outside today. But he also got a shot at the library. And I'm going to explain that because our senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, has been figuring out all the protocols with how you can make your choices and get that 1 hour of exercise outside, but still maybe get a little bit of time on the inside in the library. So, Brian, how is his day organized and how does he make the choices?
Yeah, so it's our understanding that early in the morning, they have a choice whether to go outside or into the library. And it's interesting, we've been calling it a library the last couple of days, but we keep learning more and more from sources about exactly what goes on in this jail. It's actually more of a multi-purpose room, Ashley. So there's also a washer and books within the multi-purpose room. Many of those books donated by people on the outside, we're told. But in this library / multi-purpose room, that's where they will have church services, that mass that we've reported that Kohberger sometimes goes to on Sundays. They also have recovery meetings in that room.
Okay, so at 7 a.m. he has...
This is so not breaking news. She has lost her fucking mind.
Outsider to the library, and then he gets the 1 hour outside of the library. But talk to me a little bit about that outside rec area. I have this vision of what the movies have, this giant, rec yard where all the prisoners are on benches and working out and everything, and that is not this place.
No, and anytime you have a vision from a movie about a jail or prison, just erase it out of your mind when it comes to this Kohberger situation. Because again, having been there, very small town, very small courthouse, and then this very, very small jail right underneath the courthouse. And that extends out to this little, very small outdoor area. It's basically just a concrete slab, Ashley. It's about 12 by 34 feet. We're told that when Kohberger chooses to go outside, that he is alone by himself outside. If you're just a regular inmate, you may go out in groups of 3 or so. And then remember, this is Idaho, so the weather can change, drastically by the week. It can be 10 degrees outside. It could be 50 degrees. They're expecting snow later this week, so the inmates don't always go outside. But we're told sometimes Kohberger does make the choice to go outside.
Yeah, hard to believe. Like, all they get out there is wall ball with something that looks like a racquetball, a little bigger than a tennis ball, I'm told. But that's it. Like, there's no equipment. There's nothing. It's just a concrete slab. And then there's these privacy panels to make sure that people in the sidewalk can't see what's going on inside that rec yard. I wanted to add something here, Brian, and that is that with the TV that he has in his cell, the source told us that there's a decent amount of basic cable channels and then a few extra, but no streaming at all. So you can imagine that every chance you would get, 23 hours a day in your cell, eating your meals alone in there, you'd want to take advantage of every morning opportunity to go to the rec yard or the library, and every 1 hour opportunity too. But that multi-purpose room is interesting, that library. Lots of books there?
Yeah, an entire wall full of books, we're told. A lot of books, a wide variety. We're told that many were donated by family members of previous prisoners and that they've been left there. And that it's quite extensive. But again, it's not really like a library like you would think of a library. Again, it's more of a multi-purpose room. There's the washer and dryer. There's a pull-up bar in that room. And that's also where they have the meetings and the church services.
Right, and I'm told also a dip bar, so pull-ups and dips in the library where you do the church service and also the recovery, maybe addict services as well. It certainly is a multi-purpose. I'm also told you have to walk through the library, Brian, in order to get to the rec. But I'm not sure that you can change your mind if you've signed up at 7 in the morning and you decide, oh, it's cold. By the way,
Johnny, that's my thoughts too. That's why when I heard her, I was like, why is this breaking news? That's why I made a joke about her shirt. Like, who cares? I could tell you all about the inside of jail. What do you want to know about it?
That'll obviously, influence the decisions. It's a small place. I mean, 3 guards, Ashley. We confirmed that it's usually just 3 guards working the entire jail. It's not like what you envision, in the movies. It's not like something you would see in a city or even
That's because it's county jail. It's not prison. It's county jail. They're all the same.
Inmates there. And then the next day, so Tuesday there were 17. I think it was Wednesday there were 19, which means 2 people were admitted. And then today we're not sure if anybody was out or in, but it's, somewhere between 16 and 20. It can house 37 and it's 2,000 square feet. I think that's probably the most zany part of this whole thing, other than this washer and dryer that's in the, the gym, the library, the rec room. Brian Enton, thank you for all the great information. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ash.
All right, so after Brian's great reporting, we also have this. We were bringing you up to speed on this great documentary series, like a mini doc series that the Law and Crime Network is broadcasting right now. And yesterday we told you the first part of it, and it was how Bryan Kohberger has been able to fly under the radar for so long. Such an odd character. All these people who say he's just such a strange fella. And now we're hearing that he had quite a reputation for being socially awkward. Remember, at DeSales University, he had the opportunity in class to be able to go through a crime scene house. If you think about how upsetting that is, if he's guilty of what happened at 1122 King Road and had training, in the crime scene house class. I want you to hear, though, what the Law and Crime Network has gathered. Interviews with one of the neighbors in Pullman, Washington, where Brian actually brought up the murders after the murders. Let's have a listen.
It's crazy because literally days after these murders happened, he brought it up when I saw him in the hallway. He was like, "Oh, did you hear about these murders that happened?" And it was so short after they actually happened, there were barely any news articles out. So there wasn't much that I could have read. So I was like, "Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, of course I've heard about him." And he was like, "Yeah, it seems like they don't have any leads." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, there's not much about it, there's nothing, I have no details really to say." But yeah, and then he's like, "Yeah, it seems like they think it was a crime of passion." Those were the two things he said, was that they had no leads and they think it was a crime of passion.
I want to bring back Sierra Gillespie. She's from the Law and Crime Network. She's the reporter behind this investigative piece. It's fascinating to hear people who lived so close to him and had, repartee with him, to hear what they have to say about him. The neighbor across the hall, the wife of that neighbor, had something very unique to say. And I think that the wording is that she felt something was off. Can you explain?
Yeah, Ashley, that's correct. So the man we just heard sound from, Chris Martinez, lived across the hall from Bryan Kohberger until his arrest. And when I spoke with him, he said he was nice to Kohberger. He talked to him, tried to take him under his wing, but it was Martinez's wife that always felt something was strange. He described what his wife called a death stare, that Kohberger would just kind of look at you and maybe even try to analyze you a little bit. And so oftentimes when Chris would say, "Hey, I'm going to invite Brian," she would say, "Please don't." She kind of felt uncomfortable around him. So it was later, the hindsight, that really made them realize, okay, maybe his wife was picking up on something that Kohberger was putting out there.
Okay, well, I want to play something if I can. I'm going to tell the control room it's a pool party that happened in the summer before the murders. And Bryan Kohberger was at this pool party, as were a lot of other guests. And there's sort of a unique description of his personality that stemmed from this pool party. And I want to play that. Let's have a look at it.
He mainly just stood to the side and was really observant, and so much so that based on that one small interaction, he knew exactly who I was maybe a month or so later when I saw him on that hike. It was really weird how he approached me and the people that I was with, because he acted kind of like we were best friends, or it was like a reunion or something, and he was really excited to see us, and I had no idea really who he was right at that second.
Sierra, that's so fascinating that he seemed to glom on to people who barely even knew he existed.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. A lot of the people that I spoke with said the same thing over and over. Kohberger was a loner. He didn't have a lot of friends. But the people that I spoke to in Washington said over and over, he was analyzing people, kind of taking mental notes. So it seemed, so that man right there that we just heard from Zach Cartwright, he didn't even remember Bryan Kohberger when he saw him again, but Kohberger knew exactly who he was. So I don't know if you can necessarily say that's calculated, but we can likely say that Kohberger was taking mental notes about people and keeping tabs on them.
Can I ask you about this very chilling series of texts that's on our screen right now? It might be kind of hard to read, so I'm going to read a little bit of it. But correct me if I'm wrong. Chris Martinez, that first neighbor that you interviewed that we just played, he had a text exchange with Bryan Kohberger, and this is Thanksgiving. So this is well after the murders. And Chris says, "Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family." And Bryan says, "Hey, thanks, man. Happy Thanksgiving." I mean, to think that this transpires just days after the killings. Did he elaborate on the communications and the nature of the communications that Bryan Kohberger had with him after the killings?
So what I think is interesting here is you're right. This is only 11 days after the murders when investigators are saying, hey, this is still a huge priority for us. We're going to be working through the Thanksgiving holiday. We're only about a week out of it. And then you saw the text right there. Bryan Kohberger actually is the one who texted his neighbors saying, happy Thanksgiving. And when I spoke to Martinez, he said, I wasn't really friends with Kohberger. I honestly kind of felt bad for him. So I was, saying, hey, thanks, man, have a happy Thanksgiving, you too, just kind of saying something that you would to someone who you would see in passing. So it's just kind of interesting that amidst these early stages of the investigation, Kohberger is saying something so nonchalant as, hey, have a happy Thanksgiving, kind of being thoughtful. And yet weeks later, he's going to be arrested for these gruesome murders.
It's really quite something. And great reporting, Sierra Gillespie. Thank you so much for being on again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ashley. It was great coming on.
And we'll have you on again for sure. Meantime, we're going to move on because the countdown is on to the Doomsday cult mom murder trial. It's just 17 days away. And Lori Vallo's team says they're not ready. No, they say, and it's all the prosecution's fault. They say that the prosecution's.
Okay, guys, tell me, is it me? Am I the one losing it? But I want to punch both of them in the heads. Here's why. Saying that someone is socially awkward doesn't make him a killer. It makes him Asperger's. When you combine this socially awkwardness with highly intelligent, you have an Asperger's child. You don't have a killer. You have someone with Asperger's. So now, every time somebody is socially awkward, which 9 out of 10 times, they're not killers. They're Asperger's. It's disgusting to me. And as a child of an Asperger's, as a mother of an Asperger's child, that shit pisses me off. Like, really pisses me off. Because in college, people are going to look at Phoenix because he's a little weird. He's a little socially off. So all of a sudden now, thanks to the mainstream media, he's going to be a fucking murderer? Like, are you kidding me? Tens of thousands of people out there have Asperger's that are probably just like Brian. Not killers, but probably just like Brian. Socially awkward. Everything that they're saying, they're putting to every single person out there who with high functioning Asperger's. And it pisses me off. Because now, idiots that watch these morons, and you guys, I don't need to mention names, you guys know who I'm talking about, every time they see someone socially awkward, oh my God. Like, none of these neighbors realize that, yeah, maybe he was off. Maybe he did give you a death stare. Maybe he's exactly without borders. Shit pisses me off. But on the autism spectrum is a little different. I mean, granted, Asperger's on the autism spectrum. But like with Phoenix, you would never know he had autism. Like, you just wouldn't. I mean, that took years and years and years, but he's still a little socially off. He would remember somebody that he met a month ago and he would act like they were besties. I see him do it now. So the fact that they're portraying him like that and they're not looking into the fact, like, well, maybe it was Asperger's. Being socially awkward doesn't make you a fucking killer. And I think they're targeting the wrong aspect of Brian. Exactly, Starflower. Starflower, I got your note, by the way. I sent you a couple of different scents. Plenty of people are just introverted, considered socially awkward. Yeah, but the reason why I say Brian was Asperger's is because of the high intelligence. Between the high intelligence, the perfection of the way he handled his students, everything that I have seen about Brian tells me he's high functioning Asperger's. Everything I've looked in him, everything I've studied about him, all the interviews that I've heard from other people speaking of him, he just tells me that he has Asperger's. Whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, he has Asperger's, in my opinion. Hey, Grandma Rose, in my opinion. So I just find it really, really disheartening, I guess, disgusting, whatever way you want to put it, that they're allowing this and that they're portraying it like this when there's so many people out there that are socially awkward due to other factors. I mean, I, in my heart of hearts, believe that Jeffrey Dahmer was Asperger's. There's a lot of serial killers that I believe were. Who do I think wasn't? I don't think the BTK killer was. I think he's just a sick fuck. Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, just whacked. Just complete psychopath. So I don't think that all socially awkward people have Asperger's, or socially awkward killers have Asperger's, but he definitely does, without a doubt. Mickey, the only reason that I know is because I know my own son, and I've studied Asperger's, and I've studied the difference of Asperger's, and I learned about Asperger's in college, but, the separation of Asperger's and autism, and, when they didn't separate it. So I've done a lot of research on it, and every single thing that Brian encompasses tells me he has Asperger's, 150%. And like I said, it could be undiagnosed. All right. I know some of you guys are following this case, so I'll play this for now, and then I'll shut it, and then I'll talk again. Hey, Gina. It was great talking to you too, girl.
Because inmate to inmate communication is verboten in Idaho and a lot of other states too. But no, apparently they have. And that's on the list in the motion to compel. I want to bring in now Mark Garagos. He's very smart when it comes to stuff like this. Not only is he a criminal defense attorney, he's also the co-host of the Reasonable Doubt podcast. So talk to me about this play. Yesterday, big hearing, Garagos, a demand from Lori's attorneys, and then a lot of facts, like actual numbers saying 5,000 pages and several thousand recordings, like 3,000 recordings of phone calls or recorded meetings. That seems to me like you cannot hold a death penalty case if you haven't had a chance to go through all that stuff. And there's 17 days left.
And understand something, you obviously do, but in a death penalty case, you are held to the highest standard as a lawyer in terms of your preparation. And you'd be ineffective as a matter of law if you did not listen to every hour of all of those tapes and go through all of the paperwork. And when I say your team, generally, in death penalty cases, there are at least 2 lawyers working on it, in addition to paralegals and everything else. Now, I understand that the prosecution probably tactically had a reason for waiting to dump this. Number one, they always do this when it comes to phone calls because they don't want to alert the person who's in custody who may already know that they're being taped but forget and say something. So they're collecting all of that. But the prosecutor has a duty to turn over anything that's exculpatory, that's Brady material. And so besides just dumping the stuff, they also have a duty to say, hey, wait a second here. This may be something that could exculpate your client, could tend to show that your client or negate one of the elements or something like that. And so, then you've got an additional problem. You've got a client here, Valo, who does not want to waive time. You've got a right to speedy trial. In order for there to be a speedy trial, you would have to go through all of this. There may not be enough hours in the day to listen to the tape.
Can you have your cake and eat it too? Can you say, I want a speedy trial, but I want more time because that's a lot of discovery to go through?
One of the things I've done in cases like this where I've had document dumps is to say to the judge, let's pick a jury. And while we're picking a jury, I'll have part of the team go through this material. And we might have to get to a point where we select a jury and take a recess. I've done that as well. And then we'll come back and we'll start the trial at a later time.
Wow. And then the jury gets to sit out there and listen to all the media knowing that they're the jury now. And that's crazy. And you can't sequester them forever.
Well, that's one of the problems with these cases. When you have a case like this, it's going to be followed intensely. and you don't have a sequestered jury, that can present a problem. I mean, I remember asking a judge recently to move a case for a change of venue, and he said, "Where am I going to put it? In a spaceship and have it circle the Earth?" So you have to be very careful about both the media attention, because most judges will err on the side of the First Amendment, but there's also the tension with the Sixth Amendment, the right to a fair trial, and so there's that tension or tension between the two.
Okay, I have like less than a minute left, but I really want to get your take on what you think her defense is going to be. Some kind of a diminished capacity, because I think insanity is out the door, right?
Well, this is the problem with this case. It would not surprise me if they've had competency issues. Competency is she in a state of mind where she can be tried?
They have. Yeah, no. They've been through this. She's been incompetent for a long time, and suddenly she's competent. So all of a sudden, can she become incompetent again on the eve of trial?
That's absolutely the case. I've had it both a week before, the day of, and I've actually had it in a murder case where 1 week in, the client lost competency. I think that's what you're going to find here.
Yeah, and everybody should know competency is not the same thing as insanity. Competency just means, do you understand the charges against you, and can you help your attorney in this particular case? Can you aid in the defense? And if she can't do either of those, then it's like, whoosh, this thing has to, wow, I can't believe it. Who knows what's going to happen in 17 days, Garagos?
That's exactly right. I think we may have a halting trial at best.
Well, you're going to have to come back then. So there's your invitation. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Bye, Ash.
Always good to have you. Love Mark Garagos. All right, coming up, Rasheem Carter had been missing for a month before all of a sudden his remains were found, and they were scattered in the woods in rural Mississippi. Were they ravaged by animals or people behaving like animals? And why did the police say no foul play so quickly? His mother says the text he sent her, frightened of men who were after him, should have been a no-brainer. And she joins me next.
And after that, I got a case to bring to you guys that one of my patrons gave me today. It's pretty interesting. And it hasn't gotten much coverage. And they're looking for coverage on it. It's really pretty crazy. I don't know how much stuff is out there to dive deep. But it's definitely interesting. I'll show you guys once this is over. But I want to see this last case. Because this other one, I believe, is in Minnesota. The release caused death Chad's first wife. Yeah, I don't know much about this case. This one. I don't know. I was like really interested in it in the beginning, and then it just got boring to me. Like, I don't know, like every single person was covering it for a while. I was like, all right, I have zero interest in this anymore, and I just left. And I stopped covering it. So, Mickey, if you're still here, I know you were asking about jail and stuff. So, you definitely get privileges. Like, you can choose to go to the law library, or you can choose to go outside. Now, this is county. I've never been to prison. In county, you're not normally locked in a cell 24/7, but you can be locked in, or 23 hours, but you can be locked in a specific area. I was locked in a specific area where that had like 7 cells because someone else that was in the regular population thought I was going to kick her ass. So because she was there first, I got stuck for 30 days in this like sub room, I guess, but you weren't in a cell. You were just in this small room. And it was me, and I think there was 7 cells in there. And we had our own TV, our own stuff. And, it wasn't really claustrophobic. It was kind of better. But I think that's like where Brian's in. Now, I don't know if he's literally in his cell, hey, Debbie, 23 hours a day, or if they have this side room like we had. And the side room is basically for people that are in protective custody or in my situation, someone claimed they were afraid I was going to kick their ass. So I got stuck in here because she was doing longer time. And she was there first, and that's just the way it works. But honestly, it really wasn't so bad anyway. I kind of liked it. But why does this suck? Come on. Maybe because I have a zillion fucking windows open?
A1C. We're on it. We're on it.
But you can go outside. You can, hey Kaz, you can go outside. You can, yeah, 30 days. No, I wasn't in prison. I was in county. I was a contempt of court from a custody case. But I did learn once you're in prison, you can get like, you can get serious fucking, you can get a typewriter. Like Brendan Dassey got a ton of stuff. Typewriters, stuff that you would think could kill each other. Nope. No, prison and jail are completely different, Katie. Completely different. They're like night and day. So no, they're not the same at all. But Brendan Dassey got a whole bunch of stuff. Stuff that I didn't even think you were allowed in prison. But you are. A lot of them get internet, vapes, just a lot of stuff.
Dennis Morissette, Jimmy Fallon, Bradley Cooper. I can't even count the number of nominations he's had for awards for his work. Dale Earnhardt. These guys are all 48 years old, and they have just done so much in their lives, right? And then you have...
They don't get iPhones, they get iPads. And they don't get TikTok accounts. They don't get IG accounts.
Right now. And she is charged with the murder of number 5, Joseph Hartsfield, who died in the hospital on January 15th. This could have been under the radar, right? Like he was diabetic and his insulin was way up and he just was not coming to. And ultimately he died. And then, they found a whole bunch of insulin pens beside his bed and said, you didn't call 911 for a long time. She's got some arguments to make as well. But they gave her a $5 million bond, and then they only lowered it to 4.5 when she asked, and she said, I can't make that. And then she tried to kill herself, it turns out. So she's now on suicide watch inside the jail. She apparently tried to use a pencil sharpening blade. You think about a pencil sharpener, it's so teeny tiny, but she got the blade out somehow. Superficial wound, she didn't even get hospitalized, she's fine, but she's on suicide watch. And it turns out this is not the first time that a partner in her life ended up dead. 5 years ago, she shot her husband dead, and the police determined it was self-defense, but now they're taking a whole new look at it. They've reopened the case on that one. She's got a few other husbands as well who've said some things about her, like scary, like I'm glad I'm alive. I didn't know I'd survive. Here's a little background. She was in the Army. She served for a year in the late 90s. She was in the Army Reserve from 98 to 2007. She was a motor transport operator. She was an intelligence analyst. She deployed to Iraq for not quite a year. Her final rank was Sergeant First Class. That's not bad. She's lived in 39 different countries. First 3 husbands were in the Army as well. And I am joined by husband number 1, who is kind enough to join me tonight and talk a little bit about this woman who has a very strange mystery and a very strange story. Titus Kinnershield is with me now. Titus, were you surprised when you heard that Sarah Hartsfield had been arrested because of what they say is a murder?
Not overall, no. It's in her nature. She's killed before. When I lived with her, I feared for my life. So No, I
What
was just upset to hear another man had died.
I'm so sorry to hear that. And what did you think about 5 years ago when the story broke that she had shot David Bragg? That's husband. Actually, that was her fiance between husband 2 and 3. Did you suspect anything untowards at that time?
So I thought that finally she was going to get herself caught for who she is. She was able to weasel her way out of that one and make that fiance look like a bad, abusive person when it's actually her that's the terrible person.
Tell me a little bit about how she kind of reappeared in your life after you had been separated and you had moved on in your life. I think you maybe even had remarried, or certainly, yeah, you'd remarried. What happened when all of a sudden she showed up again?
So she would continuously show up into my life. You'd think she was gone. I have no children with her. There was no reason to be with her at all. And she would call our house and pester me, pester my wife. I was in the service, came back from Germany, got stationed at Fort Hood where she was also. And she showed up in my motor pool with stories of trying to give me stuff back that she kept, just to find out it was a scheme to try to get me to be with her. She threatened my family when I was in Oklahoma and my family was still in Fort Hood area, telling that she's going to be stopping by his friends close.
Did you get?
So it's just
did you get a protective order? I mean, that would drive me to go to the judge and say, "Give me some paperwork about this."
So, for the military side, I outranked her, and I went through both of our commands, and I was able to get a no contact order. It's a military form of a protective order. Meant that she could not contact myself or my family. Once she was out, that was null and void. She's very intelligent on how she does things, so trying to get a judge to give me a or a protective order would have been very difficult.
So 5 marriages plus a fiance. The fiance's dead, so 2 dead bodies in her wake. Do you suspect there could be any other victims that we don't know about?
It's possible, but it would just be total speculation on my part.
Well, I am certainly glad you are with us. And, I suppose we'll wait till trial to find out what the further details of this are. And then, of course, the investigation into David Bragg that has now been reopened. But thank you, Titus Knirschel. I really appreciate you joining us to shed some light on this story.
Yes, ma'am. Good to be here.
Good to have you. And still to come, a major update to a case that we have been following closely. Jared Bridegan, remember that Microsoft executive? He was gunned down in front of his 2-year-old daughter more than a year ago. It happened on a road in Jacksonville, Florida. Total setup. Police have arrested the alleged triggerman. That happened earlier this year. We brought you that story and we talked to his wife. And now they have arrested the person who allegedly hired him. And that person is no stranger to the victim. We have that story coming for you just ahead. And then also a young man who was found dead in the woods, his head severed, and police say nothing to see here, no foul play. Really? How does that happen? His mother's live next.
See, I don't have extensive experience emailing prisoners, but the only one I do know of is JPay. That's I've only written 2. One of them I knew personally. The other one was someone I was advocating for. But other than that, I have no idea. I thought they all used JPay. I thought they all used JPay, though. I thought that's like the prison thing. Yeah, no, not PayPal, JPay. But I thought that's all you can use is JPay. I thought that was like the jail prison sentence. Why? What do you use, Linda? You just started your journey? What, in emailing prisoners? Okay. I'm tired. I've been candle making all day. Don't forget, guys, tomorrow's the last day for the sale. Big sale, 25% off. All candles, 25% off. It ends tomorrow. So make sure you order your candles today, because at 12 o'clock tomorrow, sale ends. And it is prom 25 off. Sale ends tomorrow. I made so many candles today. I still have like 40 more to make. No joke. And I'm on my final season of Nashville. And I could see why they ended the series. It's getting really dumb. But I got to finish it out. 12 o'clock tomorrow. Sale ends. But right now, all candles are 25% off. And you don't want to miss it. Because I probably won't have a sale like this for a long time. Because this is a big sale. And I'm almost out of 14-ounce jars. I'm going to have to order more. Yeah, Crystal likes running amok. I'm watching on Hulu. What did your Patreon send you free? You'll see, Stoned. When I get there. We're not there yet. We're not quite there yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, man, I'm tired. I've been standing for hours. But my headset died and my phone needed charging. I was like, all right, I'm going to go live. I'm taking a break from candle making.
Taylorsville, Mississippi, and what happened there. Something is just not adding up. And whenever I hear no foul play, I am always all ears. I want to hear what happened. But when Rasheem Carter's death was, determined to initially have no foul play connected to it, it didn't sound right at all, because Rasheem had communicated with his mom several times that he was worried about a group of white guys that had been coming after him, hurling a bunch of racial slurs from a truck. And he was scared. Mom said, go to the authorities. And he did a couple times. And then he disappeared. So October 2, he's reported missing. A month later, November 2, his body is found. It's in the woods, and his remains are scattered, and he's been decapitated. And on November 3rd, the Smith County Sheriff said in a Facebook post that there was no reason to believe foul play was involved. I think that's weird. That's just one day after his body's found without his head. So Joseph Scott Morgan, who's a certified death investigator, I called him right away and I said, is it possible, I'm trying to, think about all the possibilities here. Is it possible that a month in the woods in Mississippi in October, is it possible that animal activity could have caused that sort of damage to a body? And he did say it is possible. Coyotes, wild dogs, wild hogs, and domesticated dogs could actually do that, could remove a head from a body. But on Tuesday, the Smith County Sheriff, Joel Houston, who defended his earlier determination, said at the time, no evidence pointed to foul play, which I think is weird because, again, it was only one day, but that he's still waiting on search warrants and that murder has not been ruled out at this time. The attorney for Tiffany Carter, that's his mom, Ben Crump, has said, this is a brutal hate crime and it needs to be investigated as such. And I'm very happy Rasheem's mother, Tiffany Carter, and Ben Crump, the family attorney, are joining me live now. First of all, Mrs. Carter, I'm so sorry that we are meeting under these circumstances. And it's just such a painful situation to be in. But facts seem to be fluid. And it seems like when you spoke up, that seems to be when the sheriff softened his tone. Do I have the timing right on that?
Yeah, you had the timing right on it.
It just seems so odd to me. Your son communicated with you that he was being targeted. Can you sort of expand on that a little bit more and tell me what he told you before he died?
Okay, before he died, he actually, well, before anything took place, he actually told me that it was 3 white trucks full of white men trying to harm him, trying to kill him. And I told him to go to the police station and everything. He did everything that I, asked him to do. He couldn't stay there. He didn't stay there. He texted me after he left the police department, and he said that, Mom, if something, he told me, we're not seeing eye to eye. My boss and I are not seeing eye to eye. And then he put his boss name there, and he put the company name there. And he told me if something happened to him, his boss was responsible. And he said, Mama, I'm smart. He got these men trying to kill me. And he texted me that after he actually left the police department that particular night. And then later on, once they found his remains, they told me when I went back there that when they first found it, I never got the opportunity to see it the very first day when they found his remains. So the next day, which was November the 3rd, they allowed me to go back there, and they showed me where his remains were found. But when I went back there, immediately the Holy Spirit told me it was foul play. And then I told the sheriff, I said that, he said, when I told him it was foul play, he said, no, it's no foul play. That's what he told me. And he tried to convince me.
Let me ask your attorney, Ben Crump. Ben, it seems odd that Rasheem was found on November 2nd.
Is it me, or does anyone notice this guy represents every black against white case that we know of? I've seen this guy represent so many people.
Well, Ashley, they said no foul play so quickly, it made Tiffany Carter and her family believe that they were trying to sweep it under the rug. And it wasn't until our firm and a lot of other people started saying, this doesn't add up. When you look at that text message and the fact that he was being chased, you have to investigate this. You cannot try to tell this brokenhearted mother that her son being found with his head decapitated was natural, because I believe, as Tiffany said, he said, oh, he must have got dehydrated and passed out, and animals tore his body apart from the head, the spinal cord. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever, Ms. Banfield.
Well, we're going to follow this case. Clearly, if there are still warrants due, then there's still information to come, and I hope you'll keep us posted. And we certainly, Ms. Carter, will keep you in our prayers as well. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I am so sorry we're meeting under these circumstances. And I just wish you all the peace that your family is deserved.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to thank Cardi B, I want to thank her and Benjamin Crump for shining so much light on my son.
I don't know, Gloria, but it seems like every single time there's a black against white, he's right there. He's the one, you know, leading the front lines of it. I know the name. I know he's represented every high-profile black against white.
And as I mentioned before, I have an update coming on that Microsoft executive who was so callously gunned down in front of his 2-year-old girl. Well, now there's another arrest that's been made. And yes, there is a connection to his ex-wife. We'll tell you who it is next.
Of course the ex-wife is involved. I don't know. I know his name. I've seen him a million times. And that's why I'm like, he's always involved. So, all right. So do you guys want to finish it up? Yeah, we might as well finish it up with that before I move on. Oh, is that what it is? He used to be yeah, that's what Andy was saying. Oh, not Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. But I know he's represented like a bunch of people. Because I've seen the name multiple times. But this case, let me just tell you a little bit about it while we're waiting to close this out. He's a civil rights attorney, also has white and Hispanic. I don't know. I just remember. I just see what I see. I knew the name. He does high-profile cases. I've never seen him represent a white person. I mean, he may have, but I've never seen it. Most of cases involve police killing black men. That's what I agree with that, Paris. Because that's what I've seen him on. His net worth is $180 million. Wow. If his net worth is $180 million, he's not doing it pro bono. He's doing it to win. So check this out, though. I heard about the death of that one guy who cured COVID. Who cured COVID? Jerry, you're not green anymore. What guy cured COVID? Who cured COVID? Bye, Rich. Trump represented. I thought he represented Floyd. He's worth $180 million. Damn, I'm in the wrong business. Why didn't I become an attorney? I don't know what happened to you, Green. I guess you expired. You get settlements for victims. Yeah, that's not pro bono, though. Pro bono is it's free. They're just taking it on the back end. But that's a good way to be. Welcome back, Jerry. So, I want you to think of this. Drugs, tattoos, cartels, and 2 roommates disappeared into thin air 2 years ago. 2 roommates completely disappeared into thin air. No trace of them at all. No sign of them at all. Whole house was ransacked. What happened to them? Police allegedly have looked in multiple places Police have excavated areas, trying to find some kind of body parts, trace of them. Absolutely zero trace of them. Hey, Anita, absolutely zero trace of them. All right, let's finish this out. Whoop.
You'll remember last year, Microsoft executive and father of 4 kids, Jared Bridegan, was gunned down in front of his 2-year-old girl as he stopped on an exit ramp because there was a tire in the middle of the road. So he got out and was shot. This happened in Jacksonville, Florida, happened in broad daylight. And if you suspected that his ex-wife had anything to do with it, police have just arrested her new husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana, and he's been charged with murder. He also happens to be a former landlord of a man named Henry Tenon. And if you recognize that name, it's because that guy, Henry Tenon, was arrested 2 months ago and actually charged with this. He got second-degree murder for allegedly pulling the trigger. The cops say that Tenon has now pleaded guilty and agreed to sing like a canary and testify, quote, truthfully against those he worked with to murder Jared Bridegan, end quote. As for the victim's ex-wife, the one married to the alleged killer arrested today, police say she is also a suspect in the killing. She took off for Washington State. She's not saying a whole lot, but watch this space. We're going to continue to cover that. Tomorrow's a big night. My friend Dan Abrams has a big old special coming, a 1-hour special on the Idaho student murders. Everything you know, you thought you knew on this. He lays it all out with some surprises. And that reminds me that tomorrow is also Friday. Thank God. We've got our Friday Night Theories. We want you to share them with us. Email us your theories, Banfield tips at newsnationnow.com. Keep it to 30 seconds. Record a video of yourself. Send it in about any of the crimes that we have covered this week or any others. Be creative. You might make your network debut right here on News Nation. Meantime, thanks for watching, everyone.
That's it. Now I know how to get on News Nation. I'm going to make a video and send it to Ashley and tell her why she needs me. I'm going to stick up for Asperger's people everywhere. Hold on, I gotta change my batteries. All right. So let's get into this other case. It's pretty interesting. Hold on. I should. Hold on, I'm waiting for this to pull up. All right. All right, so Ira Briscoe and Lyman Little were roommates living in Missouri. Briscoe, it also comes from News Nation, by the way. Briscoe's family believed their disappearance could be linked to cartels. Police say the pair disappeared under suspicious circumstances. This was published today. I'm going to play the video in a little while, but let me give you a background. So 2 years later, family members are seeking any information on these roommates missing in Missouri who haven't been seen in 2 years. They were roommates living in West Plains, Missouri. They were last seen December of 2020. Little information on their disappearance. Police haven't confirmed the cases are connected or if their disappearances could be related to a drug cartel. Honestly, I don't know how many drug cartels are in the middle of Missouri, but yeah, I guess you never know. It's an incredible mystery because there's so many things that could have happened. Briscoe loved to play guitar. He played guitar as a child. He was 25 years old. He was teaching his own son. He was a father. He battled leukemia as a child. Last time his mom saw him was December 17th of 2020. Then Briscoe and his roommate both vanished without a trace. Howell Sheriff's Office posted that Briscoe's disappearance online, noting he was reported missing under suspicious circumstances in a Facebook post. His mom has been all over social media. I said, "You don't have to worry about me, Mom. I'm in with the cartels." I can't imagine a kid saying that to his mom. I am sorry. Most kids wouldn't say that to their moms. In an effort to find her son, she's held vigils, releasing balloons in his honor. She also gone through dumpsters and climbed into caverns in an effort to follow every tip where his son could be. "I'm exhausted. You know what this is all from. It's from me climbing in a cave. Blah, blah, blah." That's all in the video. Center for Missing Persons said, yeah, this is all in the video I'm going to show you guys. I don't need to read it. The sheriff's office has made 9 arrests in connection with the case, all on unrelated charges, though. While no one has been directly charged in the disappearance of Little and Briscoe, law enforcement said those arrests have been used to move the investigation forward. I don't believe anything. I believe a lot of stuff. I don't believe bullshit, though. But all of this is like in the video I'm going to show you. I don't know what all these videos are. I watched one of them. I never watched all of them. I think I watched this one.
He loved life, and he loved fishing and hunting. I mean, there was always a stringer full of fish.
The last time his mom saw him was December 17th, 2020. Ira and his roommate, 49-year-old Lyman Little, vanished without a trace. Police posting the disappearance online. Ira's mother repeatedly taking to social media.
And let's just keep this going, because this mom's not giving up. Somebody did something to my son. Somebody did something to Lyman Little. Come on.
Let me also state, I've asked a lot of people. Nobody has heard of this case. So it's not big yet. Like, nobody's really talking about it for some reason. I don't know if it's the cartels or what, but nobody's discussing it.
Come on. Somebody knows what happened.
The family admits over the years Ira had gotten involved in drugs, possibly seeing the cartels as a lucrative opportunity.
You don't have to worry about me no more, Mom. I'm in with the cartels, and he had X's and stuff on his wrist, and I'm like, oh, Lord.
Along with vigils and releasing balloons in his honor, Marilyn Briscoe says she's gone through dumpsters and climbed into caverns, followed every tip about where her son could be.
I'm exhausted. I'm totally exhausted. You know what all this is from? You know what all this is from? It's from me climbing in a cave the other day for 3 hours, me.
Knowing her best hope may be finding his remains.
And I was praying, God, please just let me find it and let it be over. Let it be over.
But 27 months of searching and no answers. An update from police says they have issued multiple search warrants and several potential burial sites have been excavated, but still no human remains have been found. The sheriff calls it an open investigation. The family frustrated.
I am hoping that maybe they know things that they just can't share.
For Marilyn Briscoe, no matter what her son was involved in, only one thing really matters.
And Anita, I would normally agree with you, but since when do the cartels disappear without a trace? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like cartels. And what do the X's have to do with anything? I was thinking that too, that he's in Mexico.
All we ask for is someone to please tell us where our son is. That's all. If it's a body or if whatever, we'll take it.
Where is Ira Lee Briscoe? And even further, Lamont Little, Right, we have two cases here that we can investigate. Joining me this morning is Law Olmsted. He's the president of the Missing Persons Center in LA, and he has been following this case. In fact, I came across some of your coverage when we were looking into this case ourselves and noticed that you all were on it and had it up on your website since the very beginning. Before we get into our discussion, I again want to encourage people who are watching online, just
He'd be in Mexico for the Mexican cartels. They would bring him back to Mexico and kill him.
joining us. If you are just becoming familiar with the case and the disappearance of Ira Briscoe, join in the conversation. If you have a question pertinent to the case, please post it online and we can try to get to some of your questions. And if you just have a comment of encouragement or missing people in general in some of these cases that we're covering, I encourage you to partake in the conversation. Law, this case stands out for a lot of reasons because, one, law enforcement says there were suspicious circumstances behind it. Can you get into some of the details about what they mean by that? And again, this case 2 years old now.
Well, you know, when you just state it like that, there's suspicious circumstances. I mean, that in itself is suspicious. Usually there's more detail given. And, you know, something to go back to is the communication between the family and law enforcement. There seems to be a lot of conflicting reports, what was said to each other on both ends. The police say that they've communicated XYZ to the family. The family says they've communicated XYZ to the police, but nothing kind of matches up. So somewhere in between all of this information is kind of the truth. And it's hard to get to with all of the...
Okay, off subject, dude is using a green screen. Why would he use that background on a green screen? Just curious.
History involved because there has been no solid communication. There's been really no defined search efforts. There's talk of they've excavated different locations. Well, usually, you know, police are very excited about those kind of discoveries and efforts, and they publish.
Do those tattoos mean drug cartel? I've never seen, I mean, I don't know much about the drug cartel, but I don't think they stamp you like that, do they?
Publicize them. They get the community involved. They put out press releases of what they found, what locations they're going to be at. Especially in a small town, you would think this would be covered by the local media, and none of that was. So it's really kind of confusing and, you know, left to speculation on what actually has been done on the case.
Right. And the other thing that is confusing, kind of amplifies the concern, is it's not just one missing person. I mean, Ira is 25 years old, but you have 49-year-old Lamone Little as well, who also has essentially vanished. These guys were roommates. They just don't disappear.
No, it's true. And, you know, when, again, we always do research on the cases that we put into our database to see if we can lend a hand in any way. And Lamone Little is like a mystery in himself. I've only seen one photograph of him online this whole time. I've heard no statements, no one in his family, nowhere in the community, no one has said anything about him, his character, you know, what kind of person he was, what he did for a living. Even what the relationship is between the two gentlemen, how they met. There's really nothing. And it's very, again, very confusing.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about a couple things that we do know. At least at this point, Ira's mom says that he may have been mixed up with a bad crowd, gotten involved with some people who were potentially dangerous. There's been mention of cartel involvement. You see the tattoos on his wrist. What do we know about his past and some of his connections that we've been able to conclude about what he may have been going through?
We don't know anything about his past. The only thing that can link us to his past is there's supposedly a girl that he was dating who was...
Guys, I want you to know I am now in a drug cartel. So I looked up meanings of tattoos and drug cartels. One of them is a yin yang. Well, I have a yin yang. Does that mean I'm a drug cartel? But what I'm looking at, none of it has anything to do with the stuff he's saying. 5-point crowns, rosaries tattooed, which a lot of people have. yin yang, a joker and clown symbols, teardrop, which actually means death in prison, devil and horns. A lot of people have these tattoos though. 3 dots, crosses and skulls between the eyes. I don't know. They're saying those are cartel tattoos. Nothing like this though.
Was attached somehow to a man who had attacked Ira. We don't know anything about the details other than it was supposedly caught on video, but nobody's, the video has never surfaced. So it's kind of hard to tell there again. There's just tons of missing information. I wish I had more to share about facts, because if we have facts, we can always go back to the root of the facts and kind of, have a timeline of what needs to be done, what was done, what the evidence was, what was found, compare that to tips or any information. And there's none of this. There's none whatsoever.
So the only timeline that we have is December 17th, 2020, the last time that Ira was seen. Do we know anything about that day, who he talked to? Does his mom have any information about that?
No, there's nothing. And again, something that we had touched on prior is the home where he and Little resided was ransacked. Well, part of that statement that the mother made about that in the media was that there were SD cards removed from the location, that she knew that, and that there were also cameras, or the SD cards possibly on some cameras that were out in the yard somewhere, some kind of like hunting type cameras that were taken. Outside of that, there's really been no solid information, not even to say that's solid, but it's something to create more speculation. But, as we know, that's the point we're at in this case right now, where everybody involved in it is speculating because we're not getting any good information from either side, the family side or the law enforcement side. Statements aren't matching up. So it's very, very hard to know what's going on, what needs to be done, where to look, who's responsible, if the cartel is involved, if people who were involved in a shooting the day before these guys were reported had anything to do with it. There's just no way of knowing.
Yeah, and a couple of things that police have said. I mean, one, it is an active investigation, a missing persons case. They've excavated several search warrants. They've excavated potential burial sites. They haven't found anything. And also there have been 9 arrests in connection with the case. Unrelated charges, though, that led to those arrests. Anything more you know about this?
No, I'm hearing the same things and reading the same things that you are in that regard. And it'd be kind of interesting to find out, what was said between those 9.
All right, I did find this out. So his roommate, Lyman Little, was a disabled veteran. He was 49. Ira helped care for Lyman. 6 days after anyone had last seen or spoken to him was when they reported him missing on December 23rd. During the investigation into Ira's disappearance, they learned that Lyman was also missing. In fact, they learned Lyman was last seen by anyone on December 15th. So that was 2 days before Ira. After a week, police took the missing person report on Ira. They found his car, which was a 1995 Mercury Sable, at a local scrapyard. Of course, that doesn't look good at all, but authorities also said that he actually may have given the car to someone else right before he vanished. Why would someone give their car away? Another strange coincidence, the day before Ira was last seen, there was a shooting in the nearby town. These 2 people involved in the shooting were acquaintances of Ira. Ira's mom spoke up and said that if someone would if something happened to Ira, or if someone came from him, Lyman would have stood up for Ira and got involved. sheriff sent out a letter. In this letter, I want to convey as much transparency the Howell County Sheriff's Office and other collaborating agencies. There have been 9 arrests and 107 reports in connection to this case. The arrest and criminal charges were due to other unrelated crimes, but have been used to further the investigation. Multiple people associated with this case are currently in prison. A lot of law enforcement's involved, from Arkansas to Missouri. All forms of investigative techniques have been used, including search warrants, investigative subpoenas, and over 100 interviews. Numerous locations in the state of Missouri, Oregon, Arkansas have been searched for human remains. We have utilized cadaver dogs when information was developed in reference to a possible location of a deceased human body. Searches will continue as additional info is developed. The gravity of this case has been prioritized above other significant cases, and man hours accumulated during the investigation process is expansive. So they're not, I mean, the police aren't messing around. They're like on top of this. They seem to be pretty on point to this. Like, there's a ton of stuff. That's crazy, though.
Individuals that have been arrested. The police report that those interviews have led to moving forward in the investigation, but to what extent? And, you know, it's kind of tiring from everybody to hear from law enforcement.
From what I've seen so far, I don't think there was some big drug cartel. I think it was a local drug ring that had to do with Arkansas and Missouri, because why would they be digging in Arkansas? So it has to be part of this big drug ring. Oh, this is what I just read. It has to be some part of some big drug ring that was multiple states, or why else would they look in Arkansas?
Well, this is an ongoing investigation. We can't comment. They haven't even said that, to be quite honest. But I'm waiting for that to come out next. It's an ongoing investigation. We can't comment. I would like to know, myself and a lot of other people who have been following the case, would like to know what has transpired. Why were those people arrested on unrelated charges? What did they say? Did they have anything of value that can actually move the case forward? So again, it's just more speculation. We don't have any facts to go on. And the speculation over the years, it starts building up and building up and building up. And now this whole cartel angle is the latest thing that I've heard about it. And I don't believe there was any cartel involvement here. I mean, a cartel is not big in Missouri as far as I know. And as far as missing persons cases go and the cartel like this, not very typical.
Yeah. So we're looking at tattoos on the left of your screen on Ira's wrist. He's 25 years old. He was a young father. You saw him in that video playing the guitar with his young son. His family and definitely his mom are not giving up the search and trying to put the pressure on investigators to come up with some answers. I'm curious, Law, you're with the Missing Persons Center. You guys cover lots of different cases. How does this one compare and stack up to some of the other cases that you continue to follow? For a lot of these families, it's dead end after dead end in trying to get answers in these cases. Is this one any different?
Well, this one is really, again, a huge mystery. This is a story. You know, a lot of people talk about getting their cases exposed to the media and getting the word out. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I worked on some really high-profile missing person cases. And I don't know why this hasn't got more attention on a wide scale, because it is such a mystery. I do see cases on a daily basis that don't really match the same, structure as this one, but it's kind of, it's got some typical aspects to it, but then it's got some other things that are just insane that just don't fit. They don't fit the whole narrative whatsoever.
Yeah, it's perplexing. We have a comment from one of the viewers watching on YouTube. Layla says, I have known this family since childhood. I hope someone gives them some answers soon. It makes me wonder about the social media component of some of these cases, even 2 years old. The families want to keep them in the headlines, want to keep people talking about it. Do you find that if they are successful in doing so, that it leads to people coming forward with more information in some of the cases that you've covered? How does that help the social media army?
The social media army is amazing. It's something that we all rely on, especially in missing person cases, because it gets the exposure out there. And we get in a lot of tips from our website daily on all kinds of cases, and a lot of them are they're kind of just speculation, and some have some good leads to them that we forward on to law enforcement. But social media is a huge thing. We try to use it, our platform. We get a lot of visits daily to the website, so it creates good traffic in itself. But the social media aspect of this is essential. But the thing is, there's a lot of, we'll call them, I don't want to use the term web sleuths, because there's actually an organization, web sleuths, who have a lot of people that volunteer time to cover things. But there's a lot of people out there that the more this goes on, and the more legs it takes through social media, the more speculation is kind of resulting from it. And what it does, it leads from the facts. Although the facts are minimal, there are still some basic facts here that aren't being followed up on, and they're getting lost in the social media. And that is a concern.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Well, I think that's part of why I really wanted to talk to you, Law, is one, because it looks like you all do your research, you're very engaged in the cases, and you are focused on the facts. And that is what we have to do, because the internet is a very big, bad place sometimes, and it can evolve into rumors and speculation and places that you don't want to go in some of these cases. But I think the good thing about talking about them on social media is it keeps these people's faces on the screen. Maybe somebody sees them, recognizes them. It leads to some of the facts and answers that these families so desire. Ira Lee Briscoe, president of the Missing Persons Center. Hey, thanks for this, for coming on, talking about.
No, because remember, this guy said that this whole cartel thing is something brand new. Like, he never heard of it before. But I want to show you guys something that is interesting. And this is the letter of what I just read you guys. Hold on. All right. So this, the cops put out. Let me come back to you guys. This, the cops put out. Multiple persons associated with the case are currently in prison. The Howell County Sheriff's Office is the primary agency investigating this case. However, multiple law enforcement agencies and other related agencies have assisted in the investigation. West Plains, Missouri State Highway, Thayer Police Department, Oregon County Sheriff's Office, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Arkansas State Police, Sharp County, Arkansas Sheriff's Office, assisted investigating a rumor Ira is alive in their jurisdiction. Hardy, Arkansas Police Department dealt potential witness in the case. Baxter County, Arkansas, assisted in searching for area for Ira's car when he first went missing. Ozark County Sheriff's Office assisted with a lead in reference to the Martin Cemetery. Alcohol, Firearms, and Tobacco, U.S. Attorney's Office, Missouri Department of Corrections Investigative, Missouri Probation and Parole Office, Arkansas Probation and Parole Office, Kansas City Police Department, Republic Police Department, Fort Smith, Arkansas Police Department, Branson Police Department, Taney County Sheriff's Office, Missouri State Highway Patrol Crime Lab, Missouri State Highway Patrol Forensics Computer Lab, Salem, Arkansas Police Department, and Missouri Department of Conservation. There's a lot of people involved. Nowhere does it say anything about Mexico. All forms of investigative techniques have been used, including search warrants, investigative subpoenas, and over 100 interviews were conducted of individuals in the state of Missouri. That's crazy. Like, I don't know how they can say the police aren't doing their job when there are multiple states involved. There's tons of people involved. I don't know. I don't see how they can say they're not working it. That's crazy to me. It seems like they're working it pretty heavily. That's a lot of PD, exactly. And I don't know like much about Missouri, but that is a lot of PD. Could be. That's why I say I agree with that Southern gal. That's why I think it was like some like drug cartel thing. That it was a local drug, not Mexican cartel, but just like a local drug ring. But the fact that his car was in a scrapyard, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that this was drug related. The house was a mess. But it's definitely interesting. I mean, it really is interesting. Like, how did two people just disappear into thin air? Especially when they have all these police departments involved. You know, all right, maybe you can make one person disappear. How do you make two people disappear? Even if it is close, it's still crossing state lines. And what about Oregon? You got Oregon, you got Missouri, you got Arkansas. That's a lot. There's been 9 arrests, but nothing as far as the murder goes. Not as far as the disappearances go, but I guess other people in the drug business, that's the only thing I'm thinking. That they're talking about, let's say, this drug ring. So 9 people have already been arrested from this drug ring, but nobody's been able to, hone down the murder. I don't know. But I still think about 279 passengers in the airplane that vanished. That was what are you talking about? You talking about the movie? I mean, the show, I forgot what it's called. I don't know. I just thought this was really interesting. But honestly, there's not much to it. Oregon? What's Oregon? No, that's not the show. It starts with an M. I forgot the name, but it starts with an M. Oh, Oregon. No, it's Oregon. It's not Oregon. It's Oregon. No, I don't remember a plane disappearing and 279 passengers disappeared. If they found the plane that crashed and never found, just disappeared off the flight radar. Well, that happens. A plane that goes down could disappear off flight radar. It went into the twilight zone. Manifest, thank you. I couldn't think of the name, thank you. Hold on, let me take a look here. Now you got me curious about this plane. Inside conspiracy theories of vanishing flight. Oh, there's a new Netflix series about it. Of course there's a new Netflix series. Netflix doc reveals shocking theories about vanished Malaysia Airlines flight. Well, now I got something to watch when my show is done. Everything was routine on board the... Well, that looks good. I have to watch that after Nashville. But first, I need to watch next episode of A Million Little Things. So many things to watch, so little time. Uh-oh, children are home. One lead was really good as to where it was, but they did not follow it about to put. I guess that's what Manifest was based on. The black hole, planes, boats, anything in that area disappears. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, Mickey. See, I don't remember this story. They are not confirmed to be from MH370, though. What do you mean? No. I'm saying that Manifest. I wonder if that's where they got the premise of the show from. Except they come back 10 years later. That was a good show, the first like 2 seasons, and then it got lame. A lot of shows do that. They're great at first, and then they get lame. So, all right, I'm getting off, though. I got candles to go make, lots and lots and lots of them. So, I will see you guys mañana. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, order your candles tonight. Tomorrow, sale ends. I'll have a different sale, but it won't be 25% off. So, make sure you order your candles, 25% off. Code is PROM25 off. And I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. And if you guys want to look more into that story, be my guest. Patrons, I'll see you guys in a little while. I do got a shitload of candles to make. And then I'll see you guys later. Peace. And thank you guys for Super Chats, PayPals, Cash Apps. Most importantly, order those candles. And thank you guys for the memberships. Thanks, Southern Gal and Stone Gator. All right, I will see you guys later. Peace.